You weren't dressed up like a bunny or a chicken.
No, bunnies, no chickens.
Oh, that's too bad.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to all, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Tuesday, April the 2nd, 2013, 2 o'clock p.m. in Osoyoos Town Council chambers. The first item on the agenda would be some adoption of minutes on the business order here. So we're looking at the Committee of the Whole minutes from March the 18th, regular open minutes from March the 18th, and the public hearing minutes from March the 19th on the Lake Foreshore zoning. Is there any council input into those minutes? Hearing none, they all will be adopted by consensus. Business arising from the prior minutes, and this would be release of the resolution from the closed meeting held on March the 18th. And that resolution is, please.
It is moved by Councillor Plante, seconded by Councillor McCordoff, and resolved that Carol Youngberg be reappointed to the Economic Development Advisory Committee for a 3-year term.
Thank you. So that is just public information that was done in an in-camera meeting. That brings us to the adoption of the agenda after late items. So there is one coming forward under B7, under Business 7. This will be a report from the meeting this morning on street vendors. And there's also under correspondence, there's a letter that I will talk about being sent under G for correspondence. So is there any other agenda changes? Hearing none, motion to approve. Councillor Ryan Rhodes, all in favor. That has been adopted. Delegations, we have no delegations, no water matters. Under correspondence, in a meeting this morning, nope, sorry, that's the wrong letter. There's an issue out there involving BC Parks and Haynes Point, and there's certainly, as everybody is aware, there is a deterioration of the boat launch. And through the Okanagan Basin Water Board, and we like to, on that side of the lake, we need that launch to put our harvesting machines in, because there's certain times of the year, in fact most of the year, when we're out there harvesting or rototilling, that we can't get under the bridge. So we need a launch on that middle pond, and there's been some damage, and it's an old boat launch, and it hasn't really been maintained, and there seems to be some question as to whose boat launch it is. And there's obviously the land is the parks, BC Parks, and then it's contracted out to an operator. And as this deteriorates further, I know the OBWB has had discussion with the operator, and he's looking for some money to help. And the letter that I would like to authorize administration to compose and send would be to the Parks Department, the BC Parks, stating how needed that boat lodge is to the town of Osoyoos. If we lost that boat launch, I mean, I think half of the locals launch their boats down there. It's a very good launch. It's nice and deep, goes in early, but it does need some work. And you know, if we don't get out there early and get a letter out there saying what it means to the town of Osoyoos and our resort municipality status, all of a sudden when well, we don't want to pay for it, and we don't want to pay for it, and whose is it, all of a sudden someone says, well, put a chain across it and that's it. So I really want to be proactive here, so I'm just asking for council to make that resolution, that we send a letter. Councillor Ryan, thank you, and seconder, Councillor McCordoff, just send a letter stating the importance and get some dialogue going with whose it is. Maybe we can do some cost sharing, 3-way cost sharing, or whatever is required, but I do know we need the ramp. Thank you very much. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We will get that letter off. Mr. Romanko, that's sufficient for you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Moving into bylaws, Waste Management Services and Regulation Amendment, report from Director of Financial Services. Mr. Romanko, yes.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. This is to review and update the Waste Management Services and Regulations bylaw. Basically, this bylaw sets the fees and fee schedule for the waste management services. This bylaw received up to third reading and is now in front of council for approval. Very quickly, the changes proposed to the fee schedule A are as follows. Garbage recycling collection rate increase from 119 to 119 from $109. Garbage tags rate has increased to $2.25 from $2. Landfill tipping fees increased to $72 per ton from $65, with a minimum charge of $5. Controlled waste, this new rate is proposed to be $150 per ton with a minimum charge of $50. Recyclable gypsum board, this rate increased to $105 from $85 with a minimum charge of $10. Oversized tires, this rate increased to $250 per ton from $200. Tires and rims, this rate has been set at $1 per tire with rims. Compostable waste sales, the fees sale for compost has increased to $50 per ton from $40 for volume less than 5 tons, and $30 per ton from $25 for volumes greater than 5 tons. Mattress and box springs, this has increased to $7.50 per mattress or box spring from $6. And liquid waste hauling facility fee, this fee has increased to $38.75 per ton from $38. All in all, so right now we're looking for adoption of the Waste Management Services and Regulations Amendment Bylaw number 1267.05 2013.
Thank you. And this has been through the readings process, so we're looking at final amendment. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Plant, any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Museum parcel tax, Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. At the regular meeting held on March 18th, Council gave first 3 readings to the Museum Parcel Tax Bylaw 1300, 2013. In 2011, the Regional District adopted the Soyuz Museum Service Establishment Bylaw for Electoral Area A in the town of Soyuz, which received electoral assent on the 5th of June 2011. The bylaw was established to enable the purchase of the future museum currently occupied by Soyuz Home Builders. In order for the town to collect the portion owing from the RDOS requisition for this service on the property tax, a parcel taxes, a parcel tax bylaw needs to be created. The referendum in 2011 stated that the annual cost would be allocated on a flat charge to all taxable parcels in electoral A in the town of Soyuz. In 2013, there's a total of 5,379 parcels. The town of Soyuz requisition for 2013 is $67,660. Museum tax bylaw number 1300 2013 is being brought forward for council's consideration. This allows the town to apply a parcel tax charge to collect the amount due to the regional district. The 2013 flat amount is $17.13 per parcel, with this parcel tax being imposed for a 20-year period. The RDOS charges the same $17.13 plus a 5.25% administration fee, and we're looking for to approve for final adoption of the Museum Parcel Tax Bylaw 1300 2013.
Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Just a comment on that. When we were going out, when we were going to the referendum, going to the public, taking it forward, I believe we were $20 and change that we thought it would be. So it was always nice to see something once in a while come in somewhat less at $17.13. Council's wishes on this, please. Councillor Ryan, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next item up is would be second and third reading on the Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw 1294-2012, and we have a report after the public hearing from the Community Planner Improving Officer, Mr. Steve Shannon.
Thank you. I'll just start with the background. On November 5th, Council reviewed the Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw. On December the 17th, Council gave the bylaw first reading, and on March the 19th, a public hearing was held at the Sonora Community Center. The purpose of this report is to recommend that Council proceeds to second and third readings of the bylaw. The draft minutes associated with the public hearing held on March the 19th are included with your Council agenda packages. Under written correspondence, the following is a summary of the written correspondence forming part of the public hearing agenda package, along with the follow-up action and comments from staff. First of all, there's a letter via email from Mr. Michael Seuss. On March the 15th, staff received a letter via email from Mr. Seuss representing La Mirada, located at Oleander Drive, and Solavita, located on Cottonwood Drive. Mr. Seuss requested confirmation that their existing strata moorage facilities would conform with the new Foreshore and Lake Zoning Bylaw. The actions: on March the 15th, I advised Mr. Seuss that any existing moorage tenures in place when the bylaw is adopted would be allowed to remain the same, but any changes to the configurations of strata moorage facilities after the bylaw is adopted, for example, the size, the shape, or the number of slips, would have to be, number one, be permitted under the new regulations, and two, their existing tenures with the province would have to be changed. On March the 25th, the attached email was sent to Mr. Seuss advising that we've been advised by the province that La Mirada does not have any strata moorage tenure. Therefore, the proposed zoning for La Mirada is W2. And Mr. Seuss was advised that in the future, staff would support rezoning the portion of the Foreshore and the Soyuz Lake fronting La Mirada from W2 to W3 if their moorage tenure with the province was upgraded to strata moorage. And that email is attached to this report. Moving on, under public presentations, the following is a summary of the presentations that took place during the public hearing, along with the follow-up action and the comments from staff. First of all was Randy North. He's the president of Paradise Park. On March the 16th, staff received a letter via email from Randy North, and the letter was received after the advertised deadline for written submissions. Mr. North presented the letter to Council during the public hearing and requested that the proposed zoning for Paradise Park be changed from W2 private moorage to W3 group/strata moorage. On March 18th, the province advised staff that the Paradise Park actually has a private moorage dock license, and that their license is not for strata moorage purposes. Therefore, the proposed zoning for Paradise Park is W2 private moorage. Under action here, staff advised Mr. North as well that in the future, staff would support rezoning the portion of the Foreshore and the Soyuz Lake fronting Paradise Park from W2 to W3 if their moorage tenure with the province was upgraded to strata moorage. The next presenter was Mr. Ray Renaud, 3613 Jasmine Drive. Mr. Renaud read an excerpt from the previous previous staff report dated November 5th, 2012, describing the LRCU recommendations related to the semi-waterfront properties between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court. In his opinion, the wording would be more definitive concerning obtaining a town permit if it was changed from allow each semi-waterfront property owner between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court, but not beyond, to apply for a town permit. Change it to read obtain a town permit. Under action, administration reviewed this matter, and administration is recommending that no changes be made to the following, or made to the wording of the bylaw. The wording suggested by Mr. Renaud suggests a predetermined right to a permit. The right to a permit provides for perpetual access to public lands and makes no allowance for future council's policy, direction, or decision-making. As per the LRC recommendations, the site-specific conditions of use in the proposed W1 zone state that semi-waterfront parcel owners between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court may apply to the town for a lease allowing for the installation of any two of the following: removable dock, a boat lift, or a private moorage buoy. The written submission from Mr. Renaud also included the following question: does council see a circumstance where semi-waterfront property owners between Jasmine Drive and Acacia Court would not be permitted to obtain a permit or a subsequent permit if the property is sold? Administration advises that the privilege to apply for a permit to gain private access to a public resource should have no guarantee beyond the stated period of time. The duration of a permit needs to allow for the possibility of council's review for redirecting public policy as changing social and environmental trends impact the development of our community. For that reason, a permit in this situation needs a reasonable time frame, such as 5 years. Is there a situation where a permit may not be renewed? Administration has identified 3 situations. Number 1, the permit holder does not follow the conditions of the permit, resulting in the permit being revoked. Number 2, the council of the day sees the need to change public policy that may affect the renewal of the permit. And number 3, the guarantee of a permit places additional value on the property. Therefore, any new owner should apply for the continuation of the permit privileges. Moving on, the next presenter was Mr. Chris Shuren. Mr. Shuren had asked if the RDOS or the OIB would be zoning the foreshore and the waters fronting their lands. And Mayor Wells explained that this would not be happening at this time. It should be noted that to help promote safety and to protect the shorelines from excessive speed, the LRCU task force recommended that the town should partner with other lakeside municipalities and the regional districts and Indian First Nations to develop and advocate positions for controlling harmful boating impacts on public safety, quality of life, and environmental sustainability to the Union of British Columbia Municipalities and Senior Governments. Mr. Shuren also asked if the proposed community pier at Gyro Park would be extended beyond 30 meters. I responded that the proposed zoning for the community pier at Gyro Park is W4, commercial moorage, which does not have any restrictions on the length. The next presenter was Ralph Otto from Jasmine Drive. Mr. Otto was generally in favor of the bylaw. However, he would like to see some stronger wording to provide security for residents along Jasmine Drive. And I've suggested that you refer back to the comments further back in the report. The next presenter was Ray Tellier. He's the treasurer of Paradise Park. Mr. Tellier submitted a letter supporting the earlier presentation made by Mr. North, the president of, Mr. Ray Tellier, he's the treasurer, and Mr. North is the president of Paradise Park. He submitted the earlier letter. He also requested that the proposed zoning of the foreshore and the waters fronting Paradise Park be changed from W2 to W3, and the action was that Mr. Tellier has been copied on the correspondence from the province regarding their moorage tenure and included on the email response to Mr. North, the president of Paradise Park. Moving on to John Gates, 92nd Avenue. Mr. Gates generally supported the bylaw. However, he expressed concerns about natural changes that could happen to the shoreline over the long term. He said we should anticipate changes around the shoreline for wetland and wildlife habitats. He asked if there should be a W5 zone. I advised him that detailed environmental studies and mapping had just been completed on the foreshore and that staff would use the information to brief council accordingly on any future rezoning applications. The concerns raised by Mr. Gates concerning the natural changes to the shoreline are dealt with through the town's enforcement of the provincial riparian areas regulation. The last presenter was Jim Valian from Island View Resort. Mr. Valian stated that he was unclear about the distances provided for in the bylaw and queried about private moorage buoys. I advised him that the town boundary is located approximately 100 meters out onto a Soyuz lake measured from high water mark. I further advised him that private moorage buoys are defined in the bylaw and that they are also regulated by Transport Canada. Council's options are to read the bylaw for a second and third time, direct staff to make some minor revisions before proceeding, or decide not to proceed at this time. And I'm going to skip past the implications. This is report number 5, and we've gone over them a number of times already. So staff recommends that council read the Foreshore and Lake Water Zoning Bylaw number 1294/2012 for a second and third time.
Thanks, Mr. Shannon. Good report. Thanks for bringing that forward. Thanks for the good work you did on that. It's been out there for a while, and again, this was a large public consultation to bring this forward, and we're hearing from some of the people that were involved. So we're headed for second and third reading if council approves of all those recommendations that were basically dealt with by our staff and administration. So, Councilor McCordoff, please.
Yes, I would like to move that we give second and third reading to the Foreshore and Lake Water Zoning Bylaw 1294, 2012.
Thank you. And that's seconder, Councilor Ryan. Discussion on that, please. Councilor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. I would just like to thank our planner here, for Steve, for dealing with all of the taking all those actions immediately after the public meeting, and I think he handled all of the concerns and the questions very well. So thank you, Mr. Shadow.
Any other comments from council? Hearing none. All in favor? Opposed? That has been carried. Going into the business component of the meeting, we're looking at the Marina moorage licensing agreements. Another report from Mr. Shannon, please.
Yeah, on March the 5th, 2012, Council approved the Marina moorage license agreement to be used by the town for licensing the marina slips, and a copy of that agreement is attached to this report. Overview, as per the Marina Operations Policy, which was also approved in the spring of 2012, moorage license holders in good standing were offered the first right of refusal for a boat slip for 2013. 9 of the 11 license holders who entered into an agreement with the town in 2012 have either signed an agreement for 2013 or will be shortly. One of the remaining slips has been filled from the wait list, and we expect a second slip to be filled from the wait list as well. I can confirm that that's taken place, actually. And the attached drawing shows all of the current end users of the marina slips. And in order to enter into all the marina moorage license agreement, a resolution is required from council to authorize the mayor and CAO to sign the marina moorage license agreements. So your options are here to pass a resolution authorizing mayor and CAO to sign the marina moorage license agreements, or number 2, not pass a resolution authorizing the mayor and CAO to sign the marina moorage license agreements. Staff recommend option 1.
Thank you. Council, please. Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move option number 1.
Okay, and that seconder, Councilor McCordoff. Any Councilor Ryan, please.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to ask, I noticed that we were able to fill one of the slips from the wait list, and I wonder what sort of a wait list do we have at the present time?
It's, I think I have about 6 or 7 names on it, but there's a little bit of missing information on a couple of people, but and then we've used up a couple of names, so I'd say 3 or 4 are left on it.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, I was just curious because wondering whether the commercial slips, whether there's enough demand from the public for those. So anyway, so we do have a healthy waiting list, so to speak, so maybe we'll look at that next year and just see how it goes. When do they come? Do they come in sort of when the call goes out, or do they come in at various times throughout the year? I mean, I know we only have 1 year's track record, but...
The people that have an interest of being on the wait list, we have a form that they can obtain at any time, and they just come in sporadically throughout the year, and I keep a spreadsheet on them with all the information on the person, their address, all the vessel specifications, et cetera, and they fill out the form, send it back to myself, and along with a picture of the vessel, and we keep continually updating that spreadsheet. I would just make a point that we don't have a wait list at this time for any more commercial slips.
No, I was wondering whether
these are all for the regular.
Yeah, whether there were more commercial slips than there was demand, and maybe you know, some of those could be converted at some point in the future to you know, normal boaters.
Definitely.
Good, thank you.
And I guess a similar question, just while we're on the subject, what were we initiating dialogue with Watermark as to their excess slips or anything? I see Mr. Cunningham hand up behind you, Mr. Shannon. So I might be treading into his. Thanks, Mr. Cunningham.
Yes, Watermark have been notified that there's still some $34,000 or whatever remaining for them to pay up as their share of the cost.
Okay.
And we're urging resolution for them to do that as quickly as possible, because under the terms of the agreement, if they don't pay that money, then one slip would be go from their share to our share. So if that happens, and we want to confirm this very quickly,
okay,
then we would have another slip open, and it would go to somebody in a wait list.
Okay.
So
great.
I expect that to be resolved within the next few weeks.
Okay. Thank you. Anything further from council? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks, Mr. Shannon. Another report. It's probably yours also. No, it's not. Oh, yes, it is. Another one. We went for an RFP on the Marina office / washroom contract. So this item is, there's a small office space there. That was our intention, to see if we could find someone to use the space, be a bit of a presence at the marina, and now we've tied it into the washroom cleanup for the two small marina washrooms that are there. So, Mr. Shannon, please.
Yep. The background here, on March the 4th, Council directed staff to make minor changes to the terms of reference and proceed with requests and proposals for leasing out the marina office space, along with one parking stall in the marina parking and staging area. Some additional text has been added to the terms of reference regarding the janitorial services required by the town, commercial signage, and the insurance requirements, and those terms of reference are attached to this report. The RFP was advertised in the March 13th and March 20th editions of the Soyuz Times, circulated via e-news, posted on the town's bulletin boards, and the advertisement for that is also attached. For your information, we also advertised the 4th commercial slip in the March 6th and March 13th editions of the Soyuz Times and e-news and the bulletin boards as well. Mr. Hubert of Soyuz Marine was the only applicant for the 4th commercial slip that came available this year. On March the 19th, the Soyuz Marine was offered the slip, and Mr. Hubert has a deadline of today at 4 p.m. to provide us with signed copies of all 4 of the commercial marina moorage license agreements for all the slips, and to pay all of the commercial moorage fees for the 2013 moorage season. Overview: the only proposal we received to lease the marina office space in the area of one parking stall, as per the terms of reference, was from Soyuz Marine, and that proposal is attached. The proposal was accompanied with a couple of additional pages of text Due to the fact that the proposal is signed off on the third page, staff are assuming that the additional 2 pages did not form part of the applicant's proposal. Obviously, the applicant has raised some questions and concerns that need to be resolved by staff before we can enter into a 3-year contract with the applicant with an option for an additional 3 years as per the terms of reference. Soyuz Marine proposal questions and concerns. Under allowable types of business, the proposal says that he will require secure storage on site, such as a mobile trailer. We need to ensure that Mr. Hubert is aware that the terms of reference states the following. The marina parking stall lease area may be used for the storage of equipment. However, the equipment must be stored in an enclosed trailer which does not overhang the parking stall. Outdoor storage of equipment on the ground, in the marina parking and staging area, or anywhere around the marina office washrooms building is strictly prohibited. The use of sales tents are also prohibited at all times. Under marina management services, the proposal states that they will require access to the marina office from May the 1st to September 30th of this year. The RFP was advertised as per the terms of reference from May 15th to September 15th each year. Assuming council agrees that this is not a problem, an agreement could be worked in a way that allows the applicant to have the use of both the marina office space and the parking stall from May 1st to September 30th each year, but only be required to provide these services to the town from May 15th to September 15th of each year. Under monitoring the marina security gate, the proposal says he has a concern with the monitoring requirements and that a definition is required. The terms of reference state the proponent shall monitor the marina security gates to ensure that they are locked at all times when not in use and to ensure the gates are never left in the open position. Staff suggests that the wording at all times be removed when the agreement is prepared and make it clear that we expect the proponent to simply keep an eye on the gates to see that they are not left in the open position. Mr. Hubert has no issues with any of the other clauses and has offered to rent the marina office space and the parking stall for the amount of $101 per month. And staff are of the opinion that this is an acceptable offer when compared to the value of the services to be provided by the proponent. This will be discussed further with council. Additional pages and the concerns. The extra pages begin by describing the services that Soyuz Marine provides to the town. And then under the heading Terms of Reference, it states that Soyuz Marine finds the costs excuse me, relating to the requirements as outlined in the Terms of Reference documents to be extremely prohibitive. This is followed by a cost breakdown. Staff does not agree with the proponent's calculations. For example, there is no mention of the lease area for the parking stall. And for comparison purposes, council has advised that we recently received an offer from another party to clean the marina washroom for a cost of $500 per month plus GST. Mr. Hubert closes by saying that he would require 2 employees to fulfill the obligations of the town and feels that this is unreasonable and would result in excessively prohibited cost. Notwithstanding his comment, we trust that Mr. Hubert will undertake his contractual responsibilities. Council's options. Number 1, direct staff to enter into a 3-year contract with the Soyuz Marine with an option of an additional 3 years, providing the proponent is in good standing with the town. The agreement to be worded in a way that allows the applicant to have the use of both the marina office space and the parking stall from May the 1st to September 30th each year, and to provide the required services to the town from May 15th to September 15th of each year. Number 2, direct staff to revise the terms of reference and advertise a second RFP, or do nothing. Staff recommends option 1.
Thanks, Mr. Shannon. I guess I have some questions here. I don't know where that quite leaves us with those comments on those 2 extra pages after the applicant signed it. That's just ramblings? Is that what that is, or we don't know? Maybe it's in the we don't know category.
Well, I've asked myself the same question a few times, which is largely why I wrote it up the way I did.
Okay,
But
okay.
it's pretty clear to me on the third page that it's signed off, the signature box and everything, that that's the actual proposal.
Okay.
And I'm not sure what to make out of the final 2 pages. I just feel like these things have to be covered off in the agreement that we prepare in the contract.
Okay. So then, when we're looking at the dates, so he wants it May 1st to September 30th, that's all fine. Well, then the washroom services are May 15th to September 15th, and then we're going to our other contractor for outside of that?
Yes, we'll, and actually, we're going to staff until our other contractor comes on April 15th.
Okay.
So in this past week, staff opened up the main park washrooms, and then staff will maintain them, and we'll do that very similar with the marina. And so, and when our washroom contractor comes on, well, our washroom contractor doesn't do the marina washroom, so our staff will do the marina washroom until whatever date.
Till May the 15th.
Till May the 15th.
If this was accepted now, so the town staff would do it.
Yeah.
And how are we for weekend coverage then? That's all fine?
Weekend coverage, we're fine as well.
Okay.
We have the washroom contractor looking at the facilities, or the person on call from the town. The washroom person, the water person comes and looks at the washroom to see if there's any problems.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Council Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I share some of those concerns about his comments.
Sorry, can't hear you. Put it up again.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just a little low.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, starting over again, I share some of those concerns about his comments, and I'm just wondering if it would be prudent of us to maybe have dialogue with him a little bit and find out if any of those concerns are deal breakers, for example. You know, I understand that he signed it. Maybe he signed it for reasons that we would discuss these with him after the fact. I don't know. It's as much a mystery to me as it is to you, I guess. But just in the interest of being safe and prudent and doing the right thing with it, I think maybe we should perhaps look at, you know, at least having some dialogue with him to discuss those concerns and find out if there are issues that are going to get in the way of providing those services under the terms of reference. I'm pretty sure that was a question. Yeah, sorry.
I fully intend to have some dialogue with him when I sit down with him and make sure that that our assumptions are correct, that he did sign it on page 3, that is an actual proposal, and that none of those items are actual deal breakers, and make it clear to him that how the contract will be worded, and answer any of his questions that he might have. Like he's still got the option of backing out of it if he wants to, but I'm of the assumption from the proposal that he still wants to enter into the contract.
But if I heard you correctly, Mr. Shannon, it closes at 4 o'clock today?
That's for the 4 commercial slips. That's
a different.
That's different. That's
Okay.
that's the deadline that we gave him to get enter into the marine and moorage license agreements, was to pay his fees by 4 o'clock today and provide the signed agreements that eventually will get signed by yourself and the CAO.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, I would be. I would have expected that we would have clarified this before coming to us. And normally we see the contracts before we authorize their signing, and so I would feel more comfortable if we deferred this to our next meeting and got the answers to all these questions and had a draft of the agreement before us.
Well, was that motion seconded? Can we back up to Councillor Rhodes?
I never made a motion.
There was no motion, sorry, thank you. Okay, maybe we should get a motion on the floor. Mr. Romanko first, please.
Well, what we're looking for from council is accepting whether or not the $101 a month fee is acceptable to council in the concept of responding to the terms of reference. From there, then we know whether or not we can work with the proponent to develop a contract. The terms of reference was very, very general, and now we have to work out the details, just as we did with the when we worked out the concession and we brought a contract back to council for approval. But we don't know right now whether or not council is accepting of the offer being made in the terms of reference.
So we floated this out there with terms of reference and an amount?
No, the amount coming back from the proponent is $101 a month to rent.
Right, but he offered that.
That's right.
And we'll talk our way through the terms?
We'll develop a contract, work out all the details, define conditions, all those types of things, and bring back a contract.
So we're looking for a motion to move this forward.
That's right.
Councillor Rhodes and Councillor McCordoff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, again. So the recommendation of option 1, I don't see that in there. Regrettably, I have to see, I don't see that amount in there. I see very clearly here that it's asking that we direct staff to enter into the 3-year agreement.
Well, the amounts in the report,
yeah,
in the response to the terms of reference. It's just not in the.
It could be added.
It could be added to the.
Yeah. I just, while the microphone's in front of me here, I would have to mention that I kind of support Councillor Ryan's request to see that documentation prior to approving it. I'd feel a lot more comfortable going that route.
Okay, you can withdraw that motion or defer it. Where does that leave us time frame with administration, please?
I don't think it causes us a problem.
Doesn't change anything.
The only thing it may cause is just a delay in terms of the proponent wanting to set up for May 1st. But we can bring something back to council on 15th of April.
15th of April. But if we have more questions, then it could go. I'm looking at administration has heard the comments here. Maybe they should go forward and start working on this, so we're moving it forward rather than starting on the 15th of April. And let's say we have another little hiccup on it, then we're into May. And I hate it when we sort of get behind the 8 ball. But it's yours to deal with for sure. And I understand. I got them both covered. So, Councillor Rhodes.
I believe that the motion is one of my concerns. The other one would be to see the results of the dialogue about those concerns on the attached document as well. That may, to me, be more important than the actual documentation. I just don't want to feel comfortable that the receiver of this RFP is going to be as comfortable as everybody. And when you sign a document and then you put concerns in after the fact, it makes me concerned, and that's all that I'm getting out of it.
Now you got me concerned, so I think you should withdraw that motion.
Well, once again, there is no motion on the floor.
Yeah, we have no motion.
Yeah.
Well, I thought he had.
No one's moved. I kind of said I would feel more comfortable if we deferred it, but I didn't make a motion, but I'm prepared to. But if I may, I would just, I don't recall, and it's not mentioned in the report, what we had speculated might be a fair value for this service. But I would see that we could defer this to an earlier time than our next meeting. I mean, I think we could probably pull together something for this, but I share the concerns that we have somebody who's saying, yeah, I'll do it, but boy, I got all these concerns. And so I mean, is he really? He doesn't. I guess he only knows now that he's the only the only one that was
If he's watching TV.
put forward if he's watching TV or has his internet on.
Microphone for Alan.
Okay.
Yeah, if I could
Director Cunningham.
Yeah, our timelines are important here, and I would suggest that perhaps we could save time and respond to two concerns by council at the same time by preparing a contract document, and you can trust that staff will do a good job of that, and then discussing it with the proponent and finding out whether he's prepared to sign it or not. If he's not prepared to sign it, then of course we would be reporting that fact back to council.
And there's another caution there about that time frame, because if this doesn't work out, and this is why I think staff should be going ahead with it, if this doesn't work out and we have to re-advertise, now we're into May. Now we have to advertise twice. There's 2 weeks just in advertising. Now we can get ourselves well into May, and where are we with an operator and all that? So you're hearing what I'm saying. I'm sure that we could end up re-advertising.
Well, and again, he responded to the request for proposal. And the request for proposal is very general. He still is accepting of terms and conditions identified in the request for proposal. And as Alain referred to, we would be developing a contract agreement and sitting down with the proponent as a matter of due course. And then the contract will be coming back to council. Right now, we need to know whether or not council is supportive of the $101 a month, so then we can proceed to work out other details.
Okay. I think it's, I would see this going forward to build a contract. And then come back to council. At least then, if we have a chance, if it gets turned down by council. Councillor Rhodes, how do you read that?
Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak again. You know, it's one of those kind of things where I think it's imperative, speaking for myself, that I have a level of comfort with it. Regrettably, and out of due respect, I don't have that right now. I would like these issues resolved prior to this. I mean, I understand the implications, and I understand that I'm throwing comments out there for vigorous debate as well. I mean, I know that. But I want to feel comfortable, and I want to understand, and I'd like to see them first and foremost before I move forward with any kind of motion on this. And you know, I wish we had those answers now. I'd feel a lot better about it if we did.
Okay. So is that consensus of council? Councilor McCordoff?
Yes, thank you. I was considering going with option 1 and directing staff to enter into a 3-year contract with providing the proponent is in good standing with the town, which to me sort of sums it up that they would have to be in agreement with all of the options that we had to put forward. So I do think that I would prefer to give staff the option of working with the gentleman right now and getting this ready for us. I think that gives them some options, and they certainly know our concerns. So I'd like to move option 1.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Romango?
Again, council's not committing to anything until they until you approve the contract. So all we're asking for is permission to move ahead to build a 3-year contract based on the $101 a month and what we work out with the proponent.
Okay, let's try this then. Was that a motion?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a seconder? Do we have a seconder for that motion? I'll second. Okay. Any further dialogue on the motion? Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So now that we've moved this far down the road, I have not changed my mind, of course. I don't see that in that wording in that motion. It says direct staff to enter into a 3-year contract. To me, that's very black and white. That does not in any way, shape, or form say to me, leave this meeting today and go out and develop a contract. It says, you know, unless somebody can explain to me the wording in it, is it Am I missing something in that wording? That definitively says go and do it.
It does. So I think we could amend that to staff to negotiate a 3-year contract with Osoyoos Marine to be brought back and approved by Osoyoos Town Council. Will you
I
accept
would
that?
say instead of enter into to negotiate a contract, I would be happy with that.
And we don't need all the other stuff, because we're going to be the approvers and bring it back to Town Council. So it would be to negotiate a 3-year contract with Osoyoos Marine and to be brought back before Osoyoos Town Council for final approval, or not. Right. Councillor Rose, does that work for you? Well, no, because you can still have a vote here. So do we have that as amended? Ms. Scott, that works? Okay. Further dialogue on this? Okay. Councillor Ryan.
Well, I'm happier with that, and thanks to Councillor Rhodes for his good insight into probing the English language here and to seeing that is a definitive word, not a temporary one. So I'm prepared to support it now.
Great. And sometimes we call that doggedness.
Yes. Well, it's not often that you have to second motion, Mr. Mayor.
Anything further on that? All in favor? Maybe we should have that read, Ms. Scott, please. It's been all over the place here.
Okay, moved Councillor McCordoff, second by Mayor Wells, and resolved that staff be directed to negotiate a 3-year contract with Osoyoos Marine to be brought back to council for approval.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Under business number 3, protocol agreement. Thanks, Mr. Shannon. Director Cunningham. The protocol agreement, Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. On July 20th, 2009, the attached protocol agreement was brought to council based on a request from the regional district for a letter of support. The requested letter of support would not bind the town to the agreement, but would provide comfort to the regional district of town's support of the protocol agreement. Council provided direction to the administration to inform the RDOS that no letter of support would be forthcoming. This protocol agreement didn't receive approval from the regional district due to the contentious nature of the whereas number 6. At a recent community-to-community forum, the band's party to the protocol agreement requested the regional district readdress the protocol and have the regional district approve the protocol. The regional district has recirculated the protocol and is requesting the municipalities in the regional district to identify if they have any concerns about the protocol. This protocol will be a matter of discussion at the April regional district meeting. At the time of RDOS discussion, the approval of the RDOS was not achieved due to the constitutional link and reference to the obligations of the Crown. As a matter of law, municipalities are not recognized level of government with a link to the responsibilities of the Crown. So right now, in front of council with this protocol, we provided 3 options. The first is to provide the RDOS with feedback relating to the concerns that the town council identifies relating to the information in the protocol agreement. The second option is to inform the RDOS that council has reviewed the protocol agreement and has no comments to provide to the regional district. And number 3, to seek a legal opinion on the contents of the protocol agreement and bring the comments back to council for discussion. Administration recommends number 2. To become involved in an informed discussion on the contents of this agreement, the town needs to seek a legal opinion. Given the wording of whereas number 6 has not changed and the protocol continues to be a matter of the Crown, this matter is outside the authorities of municipal government.
Okay, thank you. And when we had the community-to-community over here at Spirit Ridge, which was the regional district sponsored one-day conference on First Nations and the regional district communities, that item number 6 was the language on that is Aboriginal rights and title, which is the big blockbuster across the nation, and that was it. But actually, that was some of the reason why the regional district did not sign the protocol agreement. Was the other one was they didn't really think because there's no municipal recognition at the federal government level that they shouldn't be involved. It was sort of like it wasn't our business, because there is no protocol for us to be recognized by federal governments. So that became a part of the reason why it wasn't signed, and I didn't realize that the 3 bands and the 3 Indian chiefs and Grand Chief Stuart Phillip held it in that high of an importance. We opened up that community to community workshop, and by 10 o'clock that morning it became very, very obvious that this protocol agreement was very, very big with the 3 bands, the 3 band chiefs, and Grand Chief Stuart Phillip. So that's brought us to where we are today, and that recommendation number 2 would be, I guess, getting RDOS to run it again by legal counsel, and has no comments to provide to the RDOS. So we're taking that. What is that position that number 2 would be, Mr. Romanko?
Position number 2 is that you've reviewed the protocol agreement, but you've got no comments to provide.
That's sort of where we were. But I'll be there, or Councillor Rhodes will be there. So this is a real cornerstone of getting things moving within the regional district. I mean, we have our relationship with the Osuyas Indian Band, and it's very, very good. But this could be moving us forward. So I'm just looking at the other. Well, it's hard for us to get any. Okay, I see number 2, and the town of Osuyas representative at the regional district table can speak to that. That would work. Option number 2. Council, differing opinions. Councillor Ryan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, when I look at number 2, say we've got no comments to provide. I mean, it's almost as if we're sort of been exhausted by the wait. Just a couple of things. First of all, on the meeting we had, you know, I had a premonition that we would be talking about that at the meeting, and it turned out my premonition was correct. Unfortunately, when we were talking about it, I didn't have a copy of it before me, and I'm not sure whether there was a copy in the room, which I think is not the way to do business. I'm offended that we have, I don't know where we got this, but whether it came from the regional district, but I'm offended that this is the original document. Some of the people have changed. Their names are still there. We got the wrong vice chair of the regional district, for example. I mean, you know, this is not the way a government should do business, in my judgment. And I have some questions about 4.1 and particularly C and E, because it says that the regional district can, once this is signed, that there can be one representative appointed by the municipality who join the accord. Now, does that mean that we join if it carries at the regional district, or we have to join individually and independently? And even if we do want someone, we have to request, and the parties, which are the 4 people, four groups mentioned at the top, have to approve us. Whereas in C, the chiefs are automatically there. So, you know, it seems to me there's a certain 2-tiered system at work here. And as passionately as the representatives and the chiefs spoke about this, and I understand how they feel, there was not 1 inch or centimeter or millimeter given in terms of somehow giving a little bit of a preamble or a few words of reference to that one whereas that we had originally concern about, as if it was somehow, it had been handed down from Sinai and there was no change possible. And I just found that, I found that hard to understand. So eventually, you two are going to, one of you or both of you are going to be sitting at that table and having to do something. And I can't in conscience say that I have no comment because I've just given them.
It's with the regional district. It's not with the town. I was looking at your number 4, where they establish a joint council, and it is just the chief of the Penticton Indian Band solely, and one representative appointed by the regional district. It doesn't have the one represented by the municipalities, Okanagan Nation Alliance, and the regional district. It looks like it's a fair.
No, I was looking at, sorry,
Oh,
I was
sorry,
talking
E.
4.1C and then 4.1E.
E, okay.
So you're right. I mean, it sounds like this was, at first when you see the chief of the Penticton, you think, well, maybe this is between Penticton and them, but because I know that they have one with the band in the city of Penticton. But, he's also mentioned as one of the 3 at the top, in addition to being mentioned specifically. So, did it come from the regional district, may I ask? Did this copy come from them just within the since the last meeting?
Yes.
Wow.
Since
Untouched by
community, C to C, community to
Oh,
community.
really? So, okay, well, I
So
think
this
that's
sort
an
of
omission.
all of a sudden dropped out because at that meeting, Chairman Dan Ashton, MLA-elect, I think that's the proper title. Is that the right title? No, he's not.
No.
the
No, well,
elect.
yeah, well,
He's an elected.
no, he hasn't been elected yet.
He's candidate.
He's a nominee.
Candidate.
Nominee, right. He said he was going to sign this, so I think that's why it came out in a big hurry.
Is George Hansen going to sign as vice chair?
Well, seeing as he's not vice chair anymore, he won't be signing this agreement. So, okay, Mr. Romanko.
I just going back to my discussions with Mr. Newell, the CAO for the regional district, when I asked him, what specifically are you looking for from the town, what the implications are, and he said, we're just looking to see if the town has got any comments related to the agreement. They're not looking for acceptance or approval or anything, they're just looking for comments related to the town's perspective on the agreement.
Okay, and I dare say, when I'm there, and Councillor Rhodes, of course, would be if he's an alternate. When I'm there, I would be supporting the signing of the protocol agreement without rehashing. I mean, they haven't got it rehashed Canada-wide yet, so Aboriginal rights and title. I mean, they've been at that for years, so I don't think we're going to solve that at the town of Vesuvius level. However, I really think that we should be moving forward on this, and I think it's good for us and our relationship with First Nations and the Vesuvius Indian Band. I think we should, and Chief Louis was certainly one of the strong proponents to getting this protocol agreement signed. So I think that should move forward. Yes.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more that it's worthy of us participating. But notwithstanding, I think that I think that there are some flaws in it, and not the least of which is just correcting the names of the people in various offices.
Right. Well, I think we have to again. Here we are making motions and accepting this on language issues. When with George Hansen was the rural director from Coston, who resigned in the last election. He didn't run. The current director over there is George Bush. So obviously this document would be hard for it to be enacted. But I think I think if we went with to inform the RDOS, we reviewed the protocol agreement and has no comments. I understand what you're saying, that that's a fairly weak statement, but be that as it may. Councillor Pond.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, just looking at that wording, if that is the issue, could we somehow word that so that the protocol agreement, we may not have comments at this time? Could be this the simple, it's at this time is not, because again, like you say, there will be a time where we're going to come to the actual protocol agreement time, and if that wording's all been changed, as Councillor Ryan has brought up, then we probably would look at this stronger. But again, at this time, maybe is just the wording and somehow comments to provide the RDOS at this time.
And I understand that, Councillor Plant, but at this time is now. This is going forward. They want to sign this. This goes back to 2009. So Dan Ashton, the chair, he wants to sign. He said it would be signed in 60 days. Now, he may be sticking his neck out quite a bit, but he at the conference said, we'll have this signed in 60 days. And then I think I heard him on CBC Radio and the Penticton Herald and many media outlets saying that. So I think we take it forward. Maybe there should be a motion here on whether I vote yes or not at the RDOS table. Well, I'm hearing some feedback. So I've never needed approval of council. I've never needed approval of council to vote at the RDOS table. Maybe this is the item. I prefer not. I prefer, as the mayor, I prefer that we proceed on option 2. But that's council's call. And I would vote in favor of the protocol agreement. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think after that debate, I would be prepared to make a motion based on number 2. I think that we have to move forward. We may not agree with all of the terms and conditions in it, but I think it's important for us to support it in some way, shape, or form. So I'd like to make that motion. And just one comment about the RDOS request. I don't think I would support any direction from council to our mayor to vote one way or another, because it's impossible to do that in that chair. Debate happens. The mayor should be able to sit there and make a decision based on our best interest, and for us to provide direction. How can you do that prior to the debate? So.
Great. Thank you for the motion, and thank you for the support. Councillor Plant is seconder. Yeah. Anything further on that?
And just to
yes.
just to talk to that, the only reason I had said that the no time was just get the wording properly, but I'm guessing as we get to the agreement, it will be all straightened out. So I agree with everything that was said and feel confident in sending that motion through.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you. I don't think I would support you going with you asking us how you should vote. You know, we've never done that before.
Oh, well.
We trust you implicitly, and I think I hope it is supported and signed. I will vote against this motion because I do have comments, okay. and I have to be true to what I've just said on the okay. on the tape.
Thank you, Councilor McCordoff. Wrap up.
No, I'm fine. I'm in supporting the motion and allowing you to make your decision.
All in favor of number 2 option? Thank you. Opposed? That motion carries. Tough job today. Yes. Right from 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh, here's an easy one. Under business number 4, the Lakeshore Drive speed limit change, a report from our CAO.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just as background, I provided some information that was attached, and that was Committee of the Whole meeting report from December 17th, 2012. Minutes from the Traffic Safety Committee from November 21st. Impact Engineering Lakeshore Drive pedestrian safety review. Pages from the report that relate to reducing speed limits. The staff report from March 4th. And Council in another format received both the full report of Impact Engineering Lakeshore Drive pedestrian safety review and the Osoyoos Road sign and marking report. Two motions were passed on March 4th, 2013. The first one was that the first motion was to lower the speed limit on Cottonwood Drive to 30 kilometers from mid-May to mid-September, and that the signs be posted to request feedback from the public as to whether the speed reductions should be seasonal or year-round. I'm happy to report there is signage up to that effect right now, and the speed limit signs are up. The second motion was resolved that the matter of lowering the speed limit on Lakeshore Drive be postponed to the next regular council meeting on March 18th, and the recommendations prepared by the Traffic Safety Committee be circulated to council, and further the RCMP traffic statistics for Lakeshore Drive be requested. We didn't deal with this on March 18th because Sergeant Shure was coming to speak on the RCMP perspective of the Lakeshore Drive, and Sergeant Shure provided the following comments on behalf of the RCMP. Provided a report on police statistics on Lakeshore Drive for the period 2010 through to 2012. There were 12 motor vehicle accidents, 29 traffic violations issued, and 60 bylaw intoxication disturbance calls. When stopping a vehicle, a driver requires 3 seconds to react and apply a brake. At 30 kilometers per hour. It would take 8 meters to stop, and at 60 kilometers an hour, it would take 13 meters to stop. Lakeshore Drive has a higher than normal statistics for a residential area. Police would support a reduction of the speed limit on Lakeshore Drive in the summer months to 30 kilometers. Staff has received an updated estimates for speed reader signage, with the cost being approximately $8,000 per unit, because that was one of the, I wasn't at the meeting, but I think that was one of the suggestions, that some speed reader boards be provided. Public Works is proposing to address crosswalk safety through installing a system of impact-resistant posts that will more clearly identify crosswalks. These posts will be installed for the summer months and removed for other seasons. At this time the report was written, 2 letters have been received from area residents expressing their concerns about lowering speed limits on Lakeshore Drive. In terms of implications, community has concerns for pedestrian safety in the Lakeshore area during busy summer season. Lowering speed limits will affect travel times of area residents and will assist RCMP with enforcement. Organizationally, the organization has addressed risk management of the area through completion of appropriate studies that were funded through the assistance of ICBC budget. No expenses to lowering speed limits beyond signage and public advertising. Investment in speed reader boards is significant and would require budget modifications or delay until 2014. Updated for cost for speed reader boards are $8,000 per unit. In terms of options presented, we've identified 6 options. And the first one being to retain the status quo at 50K and proceed with changes to pedestrian crosswalk improvements, lower the speed to 30 kilometers year-round and proceed with changes to pedestrian crosswalk improvements. Option 3, lower speed to 30 kilometers from mid-May until mid-September and proceed with pedestrian crosswalk improvements. Option 4, lower speed limit to 30 kilometers mid-June to end of August and proceed with pedestrian crosswalk improvements. Option 5, council to identify another period of time and speed for implementation along with the crosswalk improvements. And option 6 is don't implement any crosswalk improvements. The administration is recommending option 4. Option 4 being lowering the speed limit to 30 kilometers mid-June to the end of August and proceeding with the changes to crosswalk improvements. This option addresses pedestrian safety issues at peak periods, addresses RCMP recommendations, assists RCMP with enforcement, impacts area residents only during peak season, and addresses the town's risk management of the area.
Thank you for a good report. Council, please. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to move the administration's recommended option number 4.
Okay, thank you. And that seconder, Councillor McCordoff. Speaking to the motion, Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I think this is important as an excellent report, and as it pointed out, we have 2 third-party commission studies by consultants, traffic consultants, who recommended lowering the speed limit. We have the RCMP, we have our Traffic Safety Committee, which consists of members of council, members of staff, and also members of the Ministry of Transportation. And you know, it's hard when things are very quiet in town in the winter and in the spring to get a good picture of this. But I think we all remember how crowded the street is, how many people are riding and walking and cycling and on their skateboards and so on, and crossing the street to get in the lake. And I think that's really important. I don't think we can put our convenience before the safety of children and our visitors. And I have heard from people, before we brought this forward today, I'd heard from kind of an equal number on both sides, but I really think that with the lower speed limit, and we've reduced the time frame there to mid-June to the end of August, and I think that will cover the high points of the summer. So I think it's really important, and we're putting safety first, and I'm sure that we'll all enjoying the view and the scenery and the people that are walking along as we drive.
Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Councillor McCordoff.
Yes, thank you. I totally agree with Councillor Ryan. I did read the Pedestrian Safety Review, December 2010, and the Osoyoos Sign and Road Marking of June 2012, and they both recommended reducing the speed in the summertime. The RCMP has also stated the same thing. I think the whole issue has been a little bit confusing because of it's been talked about it several times, and I thank Mr. Lacey for putting in a correction last week in the paper. Councillor Ryan and I did not suggest having it at 30 kilometers an hour year-round. At one point back in December, I had mentioned that. It was quickly turned down because nobody else agreed with it, and I'm quite okay with that. One of the statistics that was in the traffic safety report said that a pedestrian impact at 55 kilometers an hour is 100% fatal. At 30 kilometers an hour, it's 10%. So what we're looking at is providing a safe environment over there, and you know, from mid-June until the end of August is a very busy time, and I just think that it makes perfect sense to have the speed limit decreased, and also to pay attention to the pedestrian crosswalk improvements, which have both been mentioned in the surveys.
Thank you. Council, please. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I'm sure glad we can bring these matters up for people's enjoyment. I've been somewhat conflicted myself. I know we received 2 formal submissions. I was able to hear from about 5 other people that took the time to telephone, and in our short lunch break today, I was also cornered by one other individual, so it's good and fresh in my mind. So I'm not 100% convinced that reducing the speed limit down as per the motion and the wording in number 4 down to 30 at any time. I think that lots of times when people speak to you, it's a very, very important part of our job as a counselor to listen to what they say. And, you know, statistics are not always right. Some of them are based on things that, you know, that are convenient at the time. And I'm not, you know, I know it sounds like I'm beating up the reports and that kind of thing, but to me, the value in the information that I gather is not always from the statistics that we get. It's from the people that are impacted the most along that particular route. And I use this same kind of feeling when I'm coming up with ideas and opinions about any kind of a motion, that it's important to me to hear from the people. And when you do, and the comments are overwhelmingly against motion number 4, that's still important for me to listen to that. And I'm a little troubled by the comment of, once again, out of due respect of our RCMP, when we asked him for direct input into it, that it doesn't really matter what speed it's at. We're not going to probably enforce it anyway or have the ability or some variation of that theme. I don't believe that 50 kilometers an hour is reckless, a reckless speed along that stretch of road. I drive it all the time. I know lots of people that live along that road. I know people that use it every day, accessing other areas up there. And I haven't heard one negative comment from any one of them about any kind of an incident under any circumstances. And, you know, one of the major components of all of the motions there is the pedestrian crosswalk improvements. And I think that's a big, big change, and an important change, and I definitely support that part of it. And I guess all of my ramblings over the last minute or so are based on the fact that I don't think I can support option number 4, based on the compelling interest that residents in that area have provided to me over the last 2 and 3 weeks, and as recently as our 20-minute lunch break today. So,
thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Plant.
And I am on the same page as Councillor Rhodes. We're looking at changes need to be made, obviously, in the pedestrian crosswalks. That's where I see it. I'm also one that uses that road quite often, and I use it with a large 18-passenger bus. And so my concern is that for the kids that are using those crosswalks, they're not as well, signage is not as well posted as it could be. We don't have it. I've driven it many times in that 50 kilometer. I don't think I've ever, in between that time frame, used the 50 kilometer. There are so many people down there at that time. I just don't know that it's necessary. What I do know is necessary is that we just got to make those crossings a little bit more visible, make some improvements on those. So I also am not in complete, I'm going with number 1 as far as options here.
Thanks, Councillor Plant. I also am, I support option 1, no change. I don't, I certainly appreciate the people that would like to lower it. I really don't think that it makes good sense for the number of people that live out there. We've heard from the people at the end of the road. I've had some contacts. I had an individual in the office. This is a tough decision. It's a tough decision because if we don't lower it and there is an incident over there, how am I going to feel? But the same token, we could lower it to 30 miles an hour. There could still be an incident. And then you'd say, well, are we supposed to go to 20 kilometers an hour? There has to be a good flow on that road. There's a lot of residents there that make it. And we certainly don't want to be out there heading for frustration of drivers with going that slow all the way in. I've suggested everyone should drive that whole stretch at 30 kilometers an hour. It's quite slow if there's no one on the road. And if there was a police car behind you and you did do 30 kilometers an hour the whole way, you would see how slow that is. I really believe we should step this up a bit. I think we need that crosswalk improvements. If you look at Spirit Ridge, they've got those low bump sidewalks. Like they're speed bumps, but they're not a bump. And they're designed. I mean, we have the technology. The road people have the technology to put in a raised crosswalk there, so you do have to slow down. I think we should work with the three main operators. I think we should work with Island View. I think we should work with Oasis. And what's the one at the very end there? Cabana Beach. And have a discussion with them. Sit down with our traffic safety and say, look, let's get the folks crossing the road in one area. Let's not make it a great area where you're crossing the road, because the main traffic, we have a well-built sidewalk there for pedestrian traffic. They're not walking on the side of the road. We have a place for them to walk, and it's got rocks and buffers to keep the cars away. Let's just pick everything up a little bit. Let's make it safer. Let's put some flashlights. I like those readographed speed signs that you see out at McIntyre Bluff when you're going through there. You see your speed being flashed, and you're going, oh my goodness, is that the speed I'm going? So there's a lot we can do without a ton of money, with some education. Let's make it safe by far, but let's make it work for the people that live there. And we can do some cleanup and make it good. So, anything further from the? Okay, all in favor? Opposed? That is defeated. Next motion, please, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'd like to motion option number 1.
Seconder, Councillor Plant. Any further discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Option number 1, status quo. Next item under business, number 6, summer liaison worker. Report from the CAO. Mr. Romanko, please.
Number 5.
Oh, I'm sorry, number 5. Absolutely. Accessibility report implementation. Again, a traffic pedestrian issue. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. An accessibility audit of the community facilities was completed for the town by the Social Planning and Research Council of BC. The report made several recommendations for implementation, and council budgeted $20,000 to carry out the recommendations of the report. Staff have reviewed the report and identified projects that can be easily addressed to improve the accessibility of community facilities. Public Works will be implementing several improvements to the parks and facilities that will not require significant expenditure of funds. One of the projects being implemented is the installation of power doors into the library at a cost of approximately $4,000. The second identified project is the implementation of audible devices on traffic lights at 2 locations in town. Project costing research provided by the Ministry of Transport shows that the town would be responsible for paying the entire amount of the service at approximately $7,000 to $8,000 per site. Also, given the significant community noise impact, MOT requires a community consultation process before they'll consider installing any audible signal devices. MOT is interested in cost-sharing the installation of a pedestrian countdown timer at the corner of Spartan Drive and Highway 3. The approximate cost of this service is $8,000, and MOT is interested in equal cost sharing. Implications: pedestrian safety and accessibility services would be improved through the implementation of a countdown timer. Funds would be taken from the amount allocated from the accessibility improvements. So the options in front of council right now are to approve the joint funding with MOT to install a pedestrian countdown timer at the corner of Spartan and Highway number 3. The second option, council denies the joint funding with MOT to install a pedestrian countdown timer at the corner of Spartan and Highway 3, and the administration recommends option number 1 of the joint funding of the project.
Thank you. Councillor Plant, please.
I would move option number 1. Council approves the joint funding with MOT to install a pedestrian countdown timer at the corner of Spartan and Highway number 3.
Yep. And Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion on that? Councillor Rhodes.
Sorry, just one quick question. Is that all 4 directions, or?
Yes, that's on the 4 posts, yes.
Councillor Pond.
And also to that is there sound with this as far as the countdown, the last 10 seconds, all that kind of thing? I'm just thinking about some of the light as well. Sometimes when you press it out there, you don't know if you've actually activated it, if there's going to be some kind of identifying either light or...
There's a sound when you do it.
When you do it? Okay.
Yeah, when you press the button, you hear a sound.
Okay. And that I think it's a great option to have there. It can be a very confusing corner. So visually making it large enough for those who have, some of the vision, but also the hear of the last 10 seconds for those as well would be great to have as well down there. So.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Highway 3 in Spartan, moving ahead. That brings an addition to the agenda item, and I've had a request, and I think council is aware of it, that we consider putting an audible signal at the top of Main Street over here, which would be 87th and Main Street, from the Wildfire Grill to the, what I would call the Rickshaw Restaurant, but I know I'm out of date.
Golden Chopsticks.
Golden Chopsticks Restaurant. There is a push to walk button there that the kids use, and a lot of tourists use it in the summertime, and a lot of people use it. But when you push the button, you don't know whether it's triggered or not. And everybody is sort of craning their neck and looking up to see whether the sign is flashing before they proceed into the crosswalk. And I think as a part of this, that should have one of those beeping audibles. When it comes on, it's a little bird chirping or whatever sound they use. And I would like council to bring forth a motion so that can be explored. Now, that falls into, under Mr. Romanko's report, that falls into a study for the audible. Maybe that could be just an advertising of any negative proponents in the newspaper. I'm not sure what that study would be. It shouldn't be much. But I really think that we need an audible on that signal so you don't have to, it's like you're sticking your head out the window and looking up to see whether it's going. Councillor Rhodes.
Well, I was going to suggest maybe the countdown thing might be a better option. I'm not sure how the beeper would go off when the light goes on. Mm-hmm. Is that the? Because that's what happens now in silence.
There's no silence. Yeah, it's just silent.
Yeah. So the audible is going to tell you the light's on, but you already know it's on.
Only if you look up. You don't know it's on. So you can't see it because it's parallel to the crosswalk over your head. So it's running this way, and you don't know when it comes on. There's no visual and no audible when the light comes on. So people are looking to see if the light's on, and then they walk. It's quite a, and I have actually done it, and I've looked up. So it's quite a strange, because normally you're seeing lights happening across the street and walk patterns and walk signs, and there's no visual, no audio, just the light comes on and cars stop for you, and you're standing there. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, people often don't even push the button too, which is a problem.
Okay.
I think this is probably something that could be taken up with the Ministry of Transport. From my understanding of the audible signals and so on, they're usually when you have a traffic light. That's where I've always seen them, because you can't. One of the reasons people hesitate is because cars don't always stop when the flashers are on. Mm-hmm. They do stop when red lights are on. So I think transportation would probably have solutions for that, but I'm not sure whether those are the solutions. If there was, for example, some way that a little light could go on at the button that would tell you that those lights have been activated, that might help. Mm-hmm. But I think transportation might be a good
well,
part
the
of
audio, I mean, if you go to the four-way stop like we just passed, you push that, and you see the action, you see what's happening, and don't walk and all that. On this one here, there's nothing. So if there was an audio going beep, and like the audios that we don't have any in this town, but I know Oliver does at their main intersection, you get the audio, you know that the light's on.
That's right. As long as you've got the light to stop the cars, then you can say walk. But if the cars don't stop, which they don't, because I use that crosswalk a lot, and you know, you do have to wait for them. There will always be the people that say, well, you know, he hasn't stepped off the curb yet. So,
well, I'm hoping for that motion to bring forward, because Mr. George Mahavaluk, the author of the poem entitled Asuyas, asked me to check into this for him when I drove him home the other day.
So we're in big. You're going to be in big trouble if we don't pass this.
That's absolutely the truth. Councilor McCord.
So would you like me to make a motion that we ask staff to look into this with the Ministry of Transportation and find a reasonable solution there, which it's not reasonable now. You can't see unless you step out and look up, and you can't hear anything. So one or the other, or maybe both, but I think that we should have it looked into.
Thank you for that motion. Seconder, please. Councilor Rhodes. Any further discussion? Councilor Pond.
And to that, I just remember MOT coming here and we were talking about crosswalks. They did a big study in Arizona, and people become, they use those things, and what happens is they press a button, they just step out. And so I think with that becomes pedestrian awareness, that, you know, even though you press the button and it's making a noise, doesn't mean that, as Councilor Ryan says, those are gonna those cars coming through are going to stop. So there is some awareness still that you can't always count on that being the all be all. So thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Over to in your direction, Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. This report relates to the request for funds for the summer liaison worker. As background, Council has discussed various actions to address the interface of summer transient and farm workers with tourists at our public facilities. A wide range of proposals have been considered and or implemented over the past few years, including the development of a temporary camp area, allocation of funds for additional bylaw enforcement, and allocation of funds for additional RCMP coverage of the main beaches and walkways. Discussions have also taken place to implement a proactive connection with summer transients and farm workers through the provision of a liaison position. This strategy was used successfully in another part of the valley. The use of this strategy assists in developing a relationship with summer transients and farm workers with the goal of developing understanding and respect of all parties. Generally, I have provided a project outline for this project. It is certainly a draft outline. It has a draft job description that identifies the work that would be considered for this position. It can be implemented in a number of different ways, through a contract employee or simply through a contract. I've identified potential sources of revenue, being $1,000 that has come from the Growers Association in 2011. Also the potential to approach Regional District A for some assistance. The costing on the project, based on approximately 280 hours between May 1st and June 30th. Again, these dates are not written in stone. They could be spread out over a longer period of time. Based on a budget of $17 an hour, we're looking at approximately $5,570. Along with that would be some type of program supplies assistance, i.e. Cell phone, travel supplies, and that would have costed approximately $3,000. So that's what's presented to Council as a draft. Certainly the community would benefit from developing a positive relationship with locals, tourists, and and all users of our public facilities. Organizationally, we need time to develop the contract, advertising, interviews, program development, and contract monitoring. The recommendation is to take the allocation out of the economic development program budget based on the fact that this impacts our overall economic development in our community, the success of the relationship between our various facility users. And I provided 3 options, and that's Council approves the expenditure for this summer liaison as presented. Council denies the expenditure for the summer liaison project, and Council provides a different allocation to the project. Based on my recommendation is option number 1. This method of linking with summer workers and transients has proven successful in the past in other communities. This project can have major information-seeking functions that may assist in developing solutions to an ongoing issue. The budget amount provides for a fair costing for the quality of contractor we are seeking and the provision of the program support.
Thanks, Mr. Romanko, and thanks a lot for the job on the description. That's really well laid out, and where this goes, that's going to be invaluable. I think it really covers what that position should do as a liaison person for our parks and our transient workers. So, what are council's wishes on this, please? Councilor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Great report. I know we discussed this in our meeting this morning, and I think at this time I would like to put forward a motion based on option number 2. I know it's not the recommended one. The council denies the expenditure for the summer liaison worker project. And if there's a seconder, I'd like to speak to that as well.
Okay. Seconder, please. Is there a seconder for that motion?
I'll second it.
Councilor McCordoff seconding. Speaking to the motion, Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I have a couple of issues with the project in general, and I understand the importance of having a liaison person and the benefit of having it. However, I'm not convinced that it's part of our mandate as council and using our taxpayer money to look after that kind of thing. I would have felt a lot better if there was a strong rural component, if farmers would have stepped forward and supported the program, and because that's really the component that should be looking after these workers. This is closely connected to our bumping up our enforcement program at our troubled areas on our main beach down there. Last May, June, and July, we had a terrible problem with misbehavior on that beach down there, and we stepped forward. We allocated budget money towards it. Immediately upon that enforcement taking place, and I'm going to stick my neck out about August 1st, just a couple of days after we decided to do that, the problem went away. People began to enjoy our beach area down there, and we received a lot of positive comments about how safe people felt. And I believe even to this day that there is a difference between people that come here to work and go down to that area down there and people that come here with the intention of misbehaving down there. To me, they're two completely separate types of people down there, and our efforts should be placed, our efforts and our budget money should be placed in that aspect of looking after that area down there. And in addition to that, in the implications under number C of the budget, I do have some difficulty. I know we talked a little bit about that this morning, about the source of that funding as well. I can't get my mind around how that's attached to economic development. I just feel that economic development money should be used for that purpose, and I don't see that in this particular application. So.
Okay, thank you. For Councilor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I will speak against this motion. I think that we can't make the farmers do what we think they should be doing. But we, nevertheless, have to bear the brunt of it. If they don't give a place for their workers to pitch their tents and stay on their property, then they're going to find a place to stay, and they're not going to go to the hotels and the motels. If they don't give them a place to shower, they're going to come and need a bath, and they're not going to get it from their employer. If they have other needs for places to eat or to cook, and they aren't provided those, there's nothing we can do about that. That's up to other levels of government to lay down laws and lay down regulations and so on, and see that they're enforced. And we see that unfortunately, it has to. We've got a two-tiered system for our agricultural workers, where if you come in from another country, you're treated in a different way. All kinds of things are laid out for you. And if you are a domestic worker who lives in Canada, whatever part, and you arrive here to work, you're treated in another way. In addition, we know that our community lacks a lot of basic things for people who are not affluent enough to either own a place here and live here, or own a holiday home, or go to a hotel or motel. We don't have, for example, we don't have a place where people can take their laundry if they don't have a washing machine of their own. We don't have a place. We have maybe one place that's where you can get a shower if you don't have a place where you have a shower. If you're some of the workers who are here obviously aren't making a lot of money, and those kind of out-of-pocket expenditures add up to the better part of a day or two's work a week. So I think that enforcement is one side, of the coin. The other side of the coin is support and developing a relationship so that you start understanding some of the needs of these folks and perhaps doing something about it. And what we're doing is we're saying, let's have, because we know that the language is a bit of a gap and a bit of an obstacle to the relationship. We're saying let's have someone who is fluent in French and English, who can give them guidance, who can alert them to some of the things that are expected of them in the park. I mean, we don't have big signs at the park saying what to do. We focus a lot on, don't throw things around and pick up after your dog. But we have a lot of things and expectations. And I mean, if you're working out in the field, you do act a little differently than if you have a job in an office. So I think this is good. Maybe the amount of money isn't the right number. Maybe the source of it is not the right source. But I really think that this is a worthy project, and I think it should be supported. So I will vote against the motion before us. Okay.
Councillor Plant?
And I also, well, the one thing for me was about the budget. And I just feel that 35 hours a week may be a little bit too much. Again, we are boosting up with our, as has been mentioned, with our bylaws and with RCMP presence. However, I do agree that there is some positives that we can get from this. However, I see it being probably more about 17 and a half, so cutting it right in half, having about 140 hours for those 2 months versus the 280 hours. I think there's some groups that have mentioned that work with the workers already. If they can show a presence here and be able to talk with them, and I'm thinking of the group that we've met that came in here and did a presentation, yes. That they could, with their work and with what they do, we would provide them with some resources to come into town and talk to those guys. These are people that have experience in the area as well with the workers, with the language, and can come down and be able to talk with them and put it within conjunction, because right now 35 hours is basically full-time work for 2 months, and I don't know that it's completely necessary, but I do think there should be some presence. So that would be my.
If I may, Councillor, I'm sorry.
Yeah, thank you. I could, well, I don't see that we need to do this for this price. I do think that there probably should be a liaison worker available. So I would be in support of working around this and coming up with a different amount of money. I'm not keen on it coming out of economic development, but we do have 1,000 from the Growers Association already. I think we could work with this proposal and come up with something that we might all agree to in terms of a little less money, fewer hours.
Okay, and I'm going to also take that position. The money is too much, and I don't know that we need it directly organized. We'll have to see how that goes. I'm, in my mind, being a little closer to the dollar, I see us for 1,000 and regional district for 1,000 and the growers for 1,000. There's a $3,000 bill, and I see that happening through Councillor Plant Ryan, through some outreach groups that are there. And the only problem with that, to Mr. Romanko, is when we do it the way that he brought forward, that person was going to report to Mr. Romanko, and we were going to be able to give that direction and do that. But $8,000 would look better into bylaw or something else that we have. And I would like to see, looks like Councillor Rowe's motion will be defeated, but I would like to see $1,000 contingent on Area A and the local farmers. So that's a $3,000 bill. We should be able to do a fairly good job for $3,000. Anyway, any further discussion on the motion, which was to deny completely? All in favor? Opposed? That motion is defeated. Looking for any other steps from council? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I don't know quite what Councillor Plant had in mind, but I guess it would have been around 4,000. So with your suggestion, I would suggest that we do ask for, we've got 1,000, I guess, from the growers already, so through their organization. So if we were to put in 1,000 or so and ask Area A, and I know that Director Prendergraft has been supportive of doing something for them, and last year was working very hard on a location. So I would propose that we make overtures to those to the Area A and use own money from whatever source we can to make up at least $3,000.
Okay. Mr. Romanko, would you see you being able to still have some direction in that in there without being an employee, you know, as a liaison person, and with the job description materials that you have, and maybe a translator? How's your French? Do you see that?
Well, I think the job description probably stays the same. It's
right.
It's the intensity of the work involved.
Right.
So you know, we work with what we have.
Yep.
And we identify what the key hours are. I know that in my discussions with we pick people. That unless there was, and again, not a guarantee or anything like that of a contract, but because it would have gone to public advertising. His comment to me, if there was nothing significant before June 23rd, they don't plan to be here until June 23rd.
Okay.
So, but that being said, we we advertise, and it could very well be that we have somebody around town who just kind of wandered into town here over the last couple of weeks that may provide that service, or we have a resident that could very well be very fluent in French and want to take this challenge on. So we go with what we have. If council's direction is $3,000, that's what we work with.
Okay.
That's provided I get some from Regional District 8.
Right.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be a problem. And Councillor Plant, you know some people around there that may be able to assist us and point us in the right direction and get that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I always kind of pictured it, that it would be someone local, that it would be, that somebody has a real feel for what happens here in the summer and the presence that they have here, and can also relate and come from a different angle. And just that soft, again, when you see a bylaw officer and an RCMP, it becomes, the uniform is, can irritate them enough to. So I just looking at that soft approach a little bit more with Liaison to see where they're coming from and approach it in that way. So.
Okay, great. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I have some clarity on the amount? Is it 3,000 or 1,000 or
Be
total 3,000?
1,000 from us,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
and we already have the other 1,000, and then we asked the area A.
And a 1 year only. It's for this year only.
Yeah.
It's not a continuing program.
I think I got a seconder here.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion? Councillor Rhodes.
Sorry to be a stickler. Maybe we could have that motion just read back before
Sure.
we.
Moved by Councillor Ryan, second by Councillor Plant, and resolve that council approves the expenditure of $1,000 for the summer liaison worker and directs staff to liaise with RDOS Area A for a $1,000 contribution, and assuming the $1,000 growers contribution.
We have that.
Yeah, we have that.
That's in the bank. So we just need the 2 1,000s, and that gets us the 3 for this year.
And if not, if
And
we don't,
put ours in.
so one is contingent on the other.
That's my understanding, is that if our Area A doesn't come up with $1,000, then it's a no-go.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. To the another addition to the agenda item, business 7, street vendors. We kicked this around a bit this morning at the committee of the whole meeting, and coming back for some further action in our public meeting. Mr. Armstrong, please.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. On March 18th, 2013, at the Committee of the Whole meeting, there was a preliminary discussion in regards to the Municipal Park Street Vendor Program, when Council was presented with the not-so-fast food proposal and the oh-so-juice proposal. The purpose of the following report is twofold: to provide Council selection criteria to consider when evaluating whether or not Council is interested in disposing of lands for these current street vendor proposals. If Council is in agreement, these criteria can sometime in the future be incorporated into a street vendor and municipal park proposal evaluation policy. The second is to seek direction on whether Council wishes to formally consider on April 15th, 2013, license of use agreements for not-so-fast food and oh-so-juice. The business license bylaw currently has a number of regulations in regards to vendors. In particular, Council should be aware of the following. A stationary vendor, vehicle, or trailer must appear clean, tidy, rust-free, and be kept in good condition. There is a limit of 1 stationary vendor per park, and it also lists a number of vendors that Council could consider to accommodate, a number of parks that Council could consider to accommodate stationary street vendors. Please note, street vendors can also operate from private land in the C1 downtown commercial zone, or from liquor primary establishments from 10 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. through a standard business license application, i.e. no disposition of land from Council. So in the report there was a table prepared with a number of evaluation criteria for both proposals. I won't repeat that for this meeting, but it looked at parking impacts and impacts on neighboring residences. So as part of a future street vendor proposal evaluation policy, Council may wish to consider for administrative efficiency during the next off-season to conduct a formal request for proposal for street vendors in municipal parks, and in one shot conduct the advertising and subsequent consideration of proposals. This could work out okay. We could present the request for proposals to Council, determine which parks we want to consider for the 2014 season. Might only be 1 or 2 parks, and the sites specifically within those parks, and go from there. Anyway, for the current proposals, there was a comment in regards to the electrical lockbox and whether the town should share in the costs of installing the electrical lockbox. The options are to direct staff to proceed with placing 2 consecutive notices in the Osoyoos Times stating that on April 15th, Town Council will consider granting land license of use agreements for street vendors sites as per business license bylaw 1045 for Oso Juice in Pioneer Walkway. That's option 1A. Option 1B is not so fast food. This proposal at Kinsman Park. And option 1C is to direct staff to inform the applicant that the town is not interested in entering into a vending site license of use agreement at this time. And then the other part is 2 is the electrical lockbox, and option 2A is to authorize the town staff to make arrangements for installing a street vendor electrical lockbox with a landlord meter at Pioneer Walkway if the applicant is willing to pay the installation costs and the monthly electrical charges. Option 2B is that the town pays for all the costs of the electrical lockbox, and option C is that the town pays 50% of the cost of the electrical lockbox, or not to proceed with the lockbox.
Thanks, Mr. Armstrong. I guess an added piece of information for people that are tuning in. Mr. Payam Sanai presented a petition this morning with, I'm going to say, 7 names on it of local restaurateurs who were opposed to any street vendor licensing, and they had their rationale as to the bricks and mortar and paying taxes and employees and things like that. So that motion is part of the committee of the whole meeting minutes of this morning, is available, and I believe 7 I think had to be it. There might have been 6, but you have it there?
Yeah. 8.
8, okay, great, thank you. So there was 8 people that had signed that petition. So we've kicked it around a little bit, and it's coming back because it has to be, we have to be fair to these people. If they are going ahead, that they have some time to get things organized and lined up. So over to council, please. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think that the Oso Juice proposal for Pioneer Walkway makes sense to me, but based on our discussions earlier today, I would like that we would accept that one and then direct staff to negotiate with the Not So Fast to see if they would accept another location and then do a site assessment of Legion Beach to see if they could be accommodated there in some fashion. And I think the use of electricity is really important. And you know, if we have sort of identified the parks, and I think it would be useful not to use generators. So I think it's reasonable for us to share the cost of the electrical lockbox, and we can always, you know, put on a fee for subsequent users. So if you want to separate those, though, maybe that would be easier.
I think we should separate those and make so the first one would be for Oso Juice.
Oso Juice at the location that they asked for, and the other to negotiate with them after doing a site assessment of Legion Beach to see if they would be interested in that location.
And so for folks to understand, if I said it was on the Pioneer Walkway by the clock, that would be an accurate description for people to understand where that site was. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to approve that one, and a seconder, Councillor McCordoff. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Opposed? That is carried. They'll be quite excited. Now, on the second one, the not so fast, I'm going to bring this question up again. I think maybe I didn't get it quite through this morning. When we're looking at Legion Beach, and for example, because that power lockbox, and I think it's important that we have power. Generators, people are not going to like generators. So if we're going into our parks, we need power. If we look at Legion Beach, and I'm sort of thinking where our buildings are, if we had, in this case, it would be a trailer going in there. To get that in and out, they're going to destroy our grass and a whole bunch of things. does it, I mean, it sort of makes sense that he would be there for the period of time. But do we want to do that? And because I think it would be quite expensive to get power to a non-location, you know, to a non-building or coming out of a building. If we have to come out of, you know, if we're putting conduit in the ground and a whole buried system, I think that $1,500 would rattle up there pretty quick. And I don't want to go down that road, say, yes, we approve, you got to have power, and the power bill comes in at $8,000. That's not right either. So I don't know what to do. You know, I'm just saying that would you, if it was tucked in, would it stay there? Would it not stay there? How does that fit in our plan for the parks? Councillor Vaughn.
Well, and to that's why I liked with the Pioneer Walkway. The whole idea for me is to create a pedestrian-friendly streets, and unfortunately, there's not the pedestrian. We don't even. I don't even know if there's a sidewalk there. If we're talking about Kingsman and just that whole presence of vitality down where Pioneer Walkway happens, and people coming and going and using that walkway. Rattlesnake doesn't give you that, or I should say the Kingsman Park doesn't really give you that access for the people. Then also I look at the location to Rattlesnake, Quiznos, and also the restaurant there, and it just, I don't see it fitting there as far as the location. So.
Right. And I think, sorry, I was sort of making that premise after this morning that we were not going for the Kinsman Park that the applicant was picking for, but I did hear Legion Park being thrown out there, and that got me into the power box, and if we were going to do it there, and I don't know if we should be leading that charge. I think we maybe should be getting the locations identified and getting the park locations identified and presenting them to the vendor, which didn't include Kinsman. Councillor Ryan.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, if I heard you correctly, you were suggesting maybe if we were to use if the site's assessment at Legion Beach was positive, that perhaps the unit could be located near some of our buildings permanent, you know, for the summer, instead of being taken away each day as the bylaw currently calls for.
If it's a trailer, it would be tough, and you got kids, and you know, to me, it's just not an ideal situation of bringing it back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe it's not an ideal situation to have it sitting there for 2 months either. You know, that wasn't our goal when we started with mobile vendors. It was, you have to take it home. So maybe that doesn't work from that location. And I don't think, if you went down towards the eastern side of Legion Beach, there's houses there. They're not going to listen to generators for 8 hours a day or longer. So we want to be careful what we suggest. And again, that's my follow-up, is let's not go out there saying, well, when we haven't thought it through yet on how that should appear. So I don't know where that leaves us right now for the here and the now. Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think the focus of the report, number 2, which we are currently discussing, is for Pioneer Walkway and whether we're going to provide electricity there. I would be amicable to moving forward with that, and I'm perhaps looking for a report from staff about Legion Beach, because you know, my original feeling, as you know, was to have it on the eastern part of it, and you know, that probably won't work now that I give it second thought. So maybe a little bit of a report from staff on Legion Beach. And time is of the essence, you know, that kind of thing. We understand that. Might give us the information we need to move forward with the other one. But I think we're pretty comfortable with the Pioneer Walkway location.
Oh, yes. No, that one...
That's come and gone already, I know that.
Yeah.
But the electrical component of it, you know, the $1,500 price tag sounds quite high to me, because I know there is power there.
Okay.
several stations that are mounted low to the ground and that type of thing, and visible plug-in boxes. I don't know what kind of requirements they have for power, but certainly we should look towards you know, maybe taking them up in their offer of paying for it, and you know, that was not intended as a motion, but it was getting pretty close, I guess.
Okay, so we've moved Oso Juice forward, so not so fast. Is that what's the motion? To deny, because it was plugged into Kinsman Park.
I did incorporate that into the first motion to say that before taking not so fast foods, giving them a final reply, that we would do a site evaluation at Legion Beach to see. And my understanding or the implication of that would be that if it was suitable, then we would offer it. If it wasn't suitable, then we'd say, I'm sorry, Kinsman's out, and we've looked at another one, and it doesn't look like it's going to pan out.
So, Ms. Scott, is that how you had that first motion?
Sort of.
Sort of.
I'll read what I have. Move Councillor Ryan, second by Councillor McCordoff, and resolve that Council accepts the proposal submitted by Oso Juice to operate as a street vendor on Pioneer Walkway, and that staff be directed to conduct a site assessment at Legion Beach to determine whether it would be a suitable location for not-so-fast food to operate a street vendor location.
Okay. So we didn't really get Kinsman in there, but I think we should have that as to deny
Formally
the
deny it.
Kinsman Park location. And that's a retroactive change.
Well, that's certainly in keeping with the motion. I mean, it was
Right,
the
right. No,
intent.
yes.
The intent was to say no to that, but we'll look at another one for you. So I don't have a problem with incorporating that
That's fine with
post
me.
factum
Yeah.
into the into it. Yeah.
Okay. That's it. Thank you very much.
Oh, the lockbox
Yeah.
issue.
The electricity.
Oh, okay. Councillor Rhodes.
I'm a little confused here. Did we not vote on that motion already?
No, I think we got.
Not the lockbox as a
No,
standard.
the one we just made the change to.
Yes.
We had voted on that. Now we're making an after the fact adjustment to it.
Is that
I get-
good process? Or?
I guess we can take a
I'm
vote on
sorry.
that as-
I think you would just leave it where it is and make a separate motion on the power box.
Sorry, but I confused very easily.
Okay.
I thought we'd voted on the motion already.
We voted on Oso Juice and Pioneer Walkway and not so fast, being turned down from Kinsman. Staff doing a site assessment of Legion, and I didn't hear electrical boxes on there.
Not yet.
No, not yet.
So now we're free. So that's made and moved and passed. Now we're free to entertain the electrical box, which came up this morning as separately. So, Councillor Pond.
Well, as far as the Oso Juice, they recommended for payment of that. Am I correct? I would stick with what they've provided in the contract and accept it as is.
Except
my-
the Oso Juice paying for the total cost of their electrical.
They suggested it as being part of their contract and their proposal, so that's what I would say anyhow.
I'd second that too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was on town property. If they're not the successful bidder next year, that becomes one of our amenities. Any discussion on that? All in favor? That is carried.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Been a tough day.
It has.
It has been. Okay, into some reports. General Sun Bowl Arena and payroll accounts, paying some.
Sorry, the notice of motion.
Oh, notice of motion. Oh, okay.
So, with Mayor and Council's permission, I'd like to ask CIO Romanko about about our report layout, and if it would be required to bring a motion forward to add another category in our implications. Do we require a resolution for that, or could we? So I'll just explain what I'm proposing is
Okay.
a critical date, a category on there. There's a number of different wordings, our critical date timelines or significant dates that are applicable to that report. And I'm wondering if there would be a possibility of adding that under our implications. And I wanted to jump in, notice a motion here, because I didn't know whether you needed that or if that's a policy or.
No, it's the meeting report format's not directed under resolution,
Okay,
and if that's something that council isn't agreed to, I'll just make the change. It's
Sure.
not a big deal.
Okay.
I'll just get some clarity in terms of you know, after the meeting or some time relative to what specifically the time frames you're looking at. But from what I understand, you're looking at you know, some type of category that captures when things have to be completed, that type of thing.
And probably chasing that right down even into some of the jobs that go to tender, because that report is a part of that. Is that where we're going also?
Well, I just felt that it would be valuable information to have that category in there with any applicable date that's based on that report, and bearing in mind that maybe there isn't anything and it would be blank at the time, but anything that's significant, has a significant date attached to the information in the report. I'm getting that information from a lot of municipalities across Canada. They're putting in that. They're using different terms, and I just brought 3 of them here right now because it does help with the vision of the future and you know where particular things are going, and I think it would be very valuable information to have in there. And I apologize for jumping in, but I wasn't sure whether it required a resolution for the next meeting or not. Yeah.
I would take that as a friendly direction from council to include
Speaking
that.
points. Sure.
Yep.
Okay, great. Paying some bills, general Sun Bowl and payroll accounts. General account amount of $196,052.02. Sun Bowl account in the amount of $3,499.44, and payroll accounts for a receipt in the amount of $59,348.19. Any input into that from council? Hearing none, they will be adopted and paid by consensus. Committee reports, I have nothing in the committee reports category. Mr. Romanko, anything in committee?
No.
Okay, going to report number 3, CAO report. Mr. Romanko, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just a few things that the administration's been involved in the last couple of weeks. It's been kind of a quiet week because a spring break and some staff away on vacation, but the wheels are still turning. Community services interviews were completed for the relief recreation facilities attendant. And we had a couple of good applications, and a decision will be made this week on that position. In corporate services, several bylaw enforcement issues, including dog and cat control on sightly properties, are again being dealt with. Bylaw officers were making initial contacts with repeat offenders over the next few weeks. People are reminded they must remove their dog feces from their own properties as well as the public properties, and failure to do so will be dealt with under the Good Neighbor Bylaw and the Dog Control Bylaw. People are reminded to ensure their trees and shrubs are trimmed so that not to pose a site safety issue on streets and sidewalks, and not to create a nuisance to their neighbors. And just along that line, we'll be dealing with 3 or 4 of the more prominent problems, sightline problems we're having in town here over the next week or so. Website updates are near completion. Agenda minutes, action tracking included also were dealt with, and a public hearing dealt with this week. Planning and development, fire hall planning continues. Marina operations project work, including slip rentals and marina offices, certainly many of the reports that were in front of council today. Public works, spring cleanup continues, and due to demands on our parks and the nice weather, We've cleaned and opened the washrooms ahead of what is our normal scheduling. Unfortunately, we missed the Marina on the weekend, which was an oversight. We forgot we have washrooms over there, I guess. In terms of myself, just a couple things. The Rick Mercer invitation has been completed, and I think the mayor has signed off on it, and it's probably well on its way. Started work on the sewer capacity study, and I've done a number of reports for council, and that's all I have today.
Thanks, Mr. Romanko. So on that oversight on the washroom, that will be, I meant to ask you when we were going through the business sessions, that will be part of our opening and closing.
Yeah, we'll include it. In fact, I've sent a note out today
Okay.
to ensure that the washrooms are being opened and closed on a daily basis there.
Okay. In case anybody watching wanted to use the Marina washrooms over the 4-day weekend, apologies. But they will be open. Thank you. Heading for councillor reports, Councillor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'm going to follow the theme, pretty short, single-purpose report today. On Saturday, we had our Easter spring celebration, and, you know, it never ceases to amaze me, you know, just when you have doubt about, you know, how things can come together in a small community. This community once again came together, and we had an awesome time on Saturday. It was such a neat day. You know, the weather was outstanding. I don't think I can in memory remember. The crowd was great. I think in the years that I participated in the parade, it was probably the biggest crowd I've seen, and everybody seemed to be enjoying themselves. So I know those are statements of the obvious, but I would like to pause just for a minute and really thank, you know, the people that worked, and those are our volunteers. And you know, right from the Lions to the Festival Society to our fire department and everybody else that participated in this, thank you so much for doing it and putting it together and making it a great day for everyone. In addition to that, I once again drove our town car in the parade. I'd like to offer a profound apology to Dr. Collins, who was willing to participate in the driving of the vehicle, and I feel that I may have pushed her out of that job, but it wasn't my intention to do that. And I haven't been able to sleep a minute since then, so I wanted to offer this public apology. I'm sorry, it wasn't my intention to do that. And, you know, as you turn onto Main Street, you know, there's, you know, I've seen that vision 5 or 6 times now, and I've been driving various kinds of vehicles. This was a brand new one, to have a 6'4", 240-pound chicken walking in front of you. It was kind of like a target, you know, and I was able to follow it really well. And, you know, periodically that chicken would stop and he'd cluck, and actually even sounded a little bit like a chicken. You know, I'm not going to reveal who was in the costume. I do know, and if anybody wants to know in private, I'd be very happy to let you know. But, you know, good for the participation. That was a good target for me to follow, and you know, what a great day, you know. And it was just, you know, the morning and a little bit of time in the afternoon, and it just really brought our community together and provided a real good function for a lot of our visitors, of which I got to say, I think there was a lot of them this time. So good for you. Thanks for the volunteering, and thanks for letting me follow that big chicken down the road.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's a hard act to follow. I attended the Destination Suyas annual meeting just before Easter, and it was a nice meeting. We heard the new Suyas song, and I guess hopefully we'll be putting that on our website somewhere that people can click onto it. But it was recorded, and there are it is on a disc now. But it was very good. And then additionally, in case you missed anybody that missed the George Mahabalich reading his poem, he read it at the conclusion of the meeting and set a nice tone for after seeing the song and then hearing the poem. I think we've got a lot of material there that we can use in our promotional materials. And then, of course, the highlight is always all the various activities of the Festival Society for Easter. And, of course, the Easter parade was very nice. Nice crowd of very polite children who gave a lot of thanks for the candies we were handing out. And I just want to also pass along for everyone some compliments that I received today on the town of Osoyoos. I was walking up the street just before this meeting this afternoon, and I saw these three ladies, and they were sort of strolling. They had just come out of having lunch at one of the little cafes, and they were just walking slowly down, looking at the windows, and I greeted them and said something to them, and they said, "Oh, we're from Penticton, and we just love Osoyoos. We come down here all the time." And they said, "Do you live here?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And they said, "You know, it's so nice. You have such nice stores, better than Penticton." And I asked them actually to say that again, and they said, "Yes, better than Penticton." So that's just a compliment that we all deserve to enjoy, and especially our merchants. And I would say keep it up. And I just want to make sure that everybody realizes that Penticton thinks we're terrific, even better than their own. We don't have malls. They like that. They say, all we have are malls, a couple of malls, not all these unique stores. So congratulations to all our Main Street merchants. And that's going to be my report today, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan, and fresh out of the briskness of Alberta, Councillor Plante.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. That's right. Actually, 2 days ago, my daughter was wearing a fully suit, gloves, mitts, and was playing in snow up to my knees. And then 2 days later, we're down at Lions Park yesterday, and we didn't put any sunscreen on her, so her cheeks are a little red today. So it just goes to show you, glad to be home. Since getting back, just before we left, I just had a couple of things here I got to bring up on my calendar. Obviously, congratulations to everyone as far as the Easter extravaganza. I haven't missed that. Sue hasn't missed that. This is the first time you missed one in a while, but in 20 years. My favorite part is always the fire department doing their head shave. I did miss that, but they let me know that they will give me a head shave if I'd like. So I might go by there just to do my part, because I do miss doing that with them. The fire department does a great job in providing fundraising for cancer research. So congratulations to them and the Festival Society for putting on a great show, and Mr. Stu Wells for putting on a chicken suit that has gone viral. So you will see pictures on that. As far as the song, actually, I just noticed it on Destination Osoyoos site, as well as a ringtone. So you can get a ringtone for your phone with the theme song. So check it out on Destination Osoyoos.
Sorry. When you finish, I'd like to just, you reminded me of something. If I may have, can I have a second chance? Sorry.
Excellent. No problem. And then as far as this week coming up, I have on August, or I should say April 6th, we have Raising Autism Awareness with a 3 to 5 kilometer walk through Osoyoos, starting at the Sonora Community Center. This is the Osoyoos Autism Behavioral Center Walk for Awareness. And again, that's on April 6th. The walk is from 11 to 1 p.m. For awareness, starts at the community center, through town, ends at the Sonora community, back at the community center. There will be route maps given out on that day. Some of the spots, we have some sponsored water stations at Art Therapy and The Good Life and Curves and Home Hardware and McLean Construction. So a lot of people involved, very excited with that. And they have some entertainment with a band from 2 to 4 playing, all types of fun stuff happening at the gym. The theme is a superhero theme, so if you got that chicken costume still around, come out on the walk. Pledge forms will be, you can also pick up pledge forms at the Osoyoos Autism Behavioral Center at the Sonora Center. You can do it as a team or solo. So again, those information that I'm actually pulling off right now, their like page on Facebook, just reading some of the information. I'm looking forward to being part of that. There are speakers coming from all different communities of trainers, and there's Bikers for Autism reps coming down from Vancouver. We have Vancouver singer-songwriter Sandy Campbell also coming. So lots going on. It'll be a ton of fun. And that's really kind of concludes, obviously, the Splash Park. We did have a little bit of a not so positive. We did get denied on some funding in the last little while, so we're staying positive. We're going to keep moving forward and keep looking for dollars to sponsor and support this great amenity for our community. And so again, we still have the Splash Park. Looking forward to starting our raffle here in this month. So look for those tickets as well. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Plante. So just